So you can see the presentation screen, right?
Yeah, we can see it now.
Okay, cool.
I guess we can first complete the presentation, and then we can have a brief Q&A session after this.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, welcome to this episode of the MS series talk. So a brief overview of what you will be seeing. I'll give a brief introduction about myself, quick review of the master's program at Harlan University, then how to approach the application process over there, and then just a few pointers about what could be an ideal place of study for you, like for your specific interests. So, and then I'll just follow it up with various pathways that you can have for scholarships and assistantships at in Germany as well as in other parts of the world. So, okay, so just a brief about myself. I think you already know about me a bit from the introduction. So so I did my bachelor's in electrical engineering at ZSCT. Did some. So it was although electrical engineering, but I was trying to explore continuously what field I really like, and that's how I wandered upon a lot of topics, and finally got with computer vision and machine learning. I did quite some research at ZSCT, then did some internships, and then finally after completing my bachelor's, I followed it up with an industry role at Onward Assist, where I was working on medical imaging as a machine learning engineer. A lot of that work involved working on digital pathology, digital radiology, and so you can see some cool pictures over there. Okay, and right now I'm as part of my research at Ireland University. I have worked at German Research Center for AI, and then right now I'm working at Max Planck Institute for Informatics. And the picture that you see as from the current work that I'm doing, which is related to self-driving cars and scene understanding. So other admits that I got were from Georgia Tech. So it was not really an Atlanta admit; it was a Loren admit. So you just go study there at the Loren campus of Georgia Tech and then transfer to US in the second year. And the other admit was Virginia Tech, computer engineering, and the University of Southern California, ECE, with specialization in ML and data science, and NCSU, ECE. So yeah, a quick review of MS at Ireland University. So it's primarily known for computer science, but there are a lot of interdisciplinary programs available here as well. So there are so first thing to note is so it's as per the CHE rankings, the Department of Computer Science at Saarland University is among the top four in Germany, and it shares the first place with some of the well-known university that you might have heard about: RWTH, KIT, and TUM. So yeah, so I think people who are not from computer science background might not have heard about Zalin University. It's probably because it's not that famous in terms of electrical engineering, mechanical engineering, civil engineering. But yeah, CS is like the prime focus. But the interesting thing is, like, there are a lot of interdisciplinary programs. So even if you are not from computer science, you can still go for a specialization that kind of aligns with some of your interests. Yeah, so as you can see, there is computer science as obvious, and visual computing, which deals with computer vision and machine learning stuff. And then there is bioinformatics, business informatics, cyber security, if you want to study something related to security. And there is data science and artificial intelligence, sort of degrees which are quite famous in today's time because of the booming job market and kind of an attractive job market. And then there is embedded systems, which is quite related to the stuff that we do in electrical engineering and electronics. Entrepreneurial service security, language and communication technologies, language science and technology, which you can probably relate to something called natural language processing that you might have heard of. Then there is mathematics and computer science, media informatics. So these are all the specialization, or you can say majors, in which you can do your master's at Zalman University. So yeah, so what you can do after coming here or after graduating from here. So there are so so because of the presence of a lot of on-campus research institutes, a major focus is on the research as well. So as you can see, there are a total of I think three CS-related Max Planck institutes, and two of them are at Saarland University, like at the campus of Saarland University. One is in Tübingen. And so Max Planck Institute for Informatics is quite well known for its research in vision and machine learning, and it's kind of ranks among top institutes around the world, let's say top 5 or 7. And some of the other research institutes in that lineup are institutes like universities like MIT, CMU, UC Berkeley. And yeah, there is the German Research Center for AI. There is CISPA if you want to do research related to security. There is Department of Computer Science where there are a lot of professors which they have their own research groups, pretty similar to any kind of university or department setting you might have heard of. Like there are professors in the department which have their own research groups where people can come and work with them. And then there is multimodal computing and interaction cluster. There is Center for Bioinformatics, SAR, which has collaboration with a lot of medical related departments or institutes. One of them is Fraunhofer Institute. And then there are departmental collaborations where basically different departments which you can approach for doing any kind of work that you like with professors that might interest you, whose work might interest you. And after graduating, so some of these there is a list of companies which people have gone to after doing their masters, and some of them are listed on your left: K-Lens, Calzis, Google, everyone knows; Intel, everyone knows; Qualcomm, ThoughtWorks; Bosch is a primary recruiter; Amazon and Apple. So so a lot of programs here specify or here include a lot of stuff from AI. So yeah, getting a job after masters is not that difficult, or it's not that big of a deal. So yeah, most of you, I guess, you won't have any problem after doing your masters and getting a job in the industry. And so how the application process looks like. So you have your CV, and you pretty much like every other university, you need to create a SOP, which is like the statement of purpose. Like, why do you want to do your masters here? 2 LORs from professors, or if you worked in industry, maybe from your managers or your CTOs, whoever falls into the same kind of category. Then you need to provide them the transcript. And one not so interesting thing about German universities is that they are quite strict with your academic background. So in terms of the grade that you get in your bachelor's, as well as the kind of courses that you do in your bachelor's. So you might have heard of people who did their bachelor's in electronics or electrical engineering, and they went on doing their master's in computer science in US. That is kind of very common over there. So in US, they would take you in computer science. Either they will ask you to do some extra courses just to fulfill your background gaps, since you didn't do your bachelor's in electrical engineering. But yeah, in other cases, they might not even ask you to do any kind of. They might not even ask you to fill any kind of coursework gaps that you had because of doing a bachelor's in different stream or major. But the problem with German universities is that like they are very academic focused. So it's very difficult to transition from electrical engineering bachelor's to doing master's in computer science. So I also got admitted into visual computing, which is kind of an interdisciplinary program. I liked all the stuff that is there in the visual computing program, but then so after 1 or 2 semesters, if you have good enough grades, good enough credits, then you can switch after coming here. And I'm not sure if that is the case with most of the universities. So if you're thinking about making a switch from, let's say, electrical or electronics to CS, then Germany might not be that a good option, because there are a high chance of your application getting rejected just because you didn't do some CS specific courses during your bachelor's. While it's like universities in US and Canada, I think are more lenient in terms of allowing you to switch your branches, or yeah, just to make a transition. Yeah, so that's all about transcript and grades. So yeah, that 75% requirement, from what I have heard, is kind of a necessary requirement. And yeah, if you have any research publications, then it helps. And especially if you're applying to a program which kind of emphasizes on research, then it helps, surely helps. But if you don't have any research publication, that is nothing to worry about. There is nothing to worry about. Your projects, research projects, or normal projects, things that you put on public platforms is totally fine for you to show. Yeah, 7.486 GPA. Yeah, so I think I think you can go online, and there is some portal, ZSCT portal, where you can enter that GPA, and that gives you a percentage conversion. So if that comes over 75%, I guess it's fine. Because what happens is, like, after you so on your transcript, I think they'll mention so when you get your transcript from ZSCT, they'll mention your overall grade out of 10, and then they'll also mention the equivalent percentage at the bottom. So yeah, so I think they'll probably, since they might not have a very they might not be acquainted to the 10 point system, they might see your percentage in that case. Yeah, I know. Initially, they mentioned the GPA, but I think after some time, or I guess they can mention your equivalent percentage as well. Like, there are you can look it up. I guess there are some ZSCT portals where you get your exam results and all that. There you can go put your GPA and convert it to percentage. Yeah, so you will get to know what's the equivalent percentage for that. But I guess even if you don't have don't have 75%, it meanders, or it's just below that, or somewhere near that, I would encourage you to apply anyways. Because there are things like SOP and LORs and your CV, the kind of projects that you have done, which might overcome the lack of academic proficiency, or you can say the academic grades that you have got. It's pretty much the case everywhere. Yeah. Yes, the website CPI cannot. Okay. And the proof of proficiency in English, pretty much like the every other program, you need to give TOEFL or IELTS, and you need to get above 95 in TOEFL, or 6.5 if you're giving IELTS. And there is no tuition fee, which is the case with a lot of programs in Germany. You just need to pay a semester contribution of 290 euros. So that is like 4 or 5 semesters that you will do during your master's. You need to pay 290 euros per semester. There is no tuition fee, and the semester contribution that you pay is you are not paying it just for sake of some kind of contribution or some kind of fee that university is asking. It's basically they provide you some facilities for that. So your transportation within the state will be free. The food in the canteen will be a bit cheaper for you because you are paying the semester contribution and things like that. And yeah, application deadline here for winter semester, which starts in mid of October, is 15 May, and this for the summer semester, which starts in mid April, is 15 November. Yes. Okay. So this was about what AMS at Salin looks like, and what if you want. So you are from you're right now, you're not sure about the program that you want to go for. You're not sure whether you want to go for an entire coursework only program, or coursework thesis program, or a program which kind of helps you in going for a PhD, or maybe you want to explore, you're not sure whether you want to go for a job or a PhD after MS. So there are a few pointers. It's just my view, what I have experienced till now, could be different for different people, but this is what I have noticed. So if you're entirely sure that you want to do a PhD after MS, then so while deciding your master's program, it's better to look for universities which have good research groups in your field of study, and the department reputation there matters a lot. So for example, if let's say you are from electrical engineering and you want to do something related to power electronics, yeah, and so if you want to do something related to power electronics, it's better to search for universities which have reputed groups or researchers who are pretty famous in the field of power electronics. And so, yeah, in this case, it would help you instead of going to a university, a very famous university, which is probably famous of because of some other programs. It might not help you that much. So let's say there is University A, which is quite famous because of their electronics, mechanical, civil programs, or computer science programs. And so, since it's famous in different streams, a lot of different streams, you might have heard the name of that university, but it's not famous for the kind of research group that they have in power electronics. It's probably not the right one for you. If you are looking for a PhD after MS and you are sure about it, if you are looking for a job after MS, then the department reputation matters, but from the learning point of view. So you'll have some good research professors and good professors, so you can be assured that the courses that you will be taking will be given from people who know who know about their subject, what they are telling you, and they can probably introduce some practical experience as well. And the location in this case matters, because if you are, let's say, if you are doing your masters in US and you are let's say you are studying somewhere near Silicon Valley, so the access to different kind of companies or industries you will have there will be a lot more than any other place you will find. And yeah, so it's similar is the case in Germany. So if you, let's say, if you are in Munich, then if you are in Munich or Berlin, then there are a lot of companies which you can approach. And so if you are staying in if you are doing your masters in some other city where there is not an abundance of different companies within that city, then probably that is a disadvantage. But in the current times, because of COVID, everything is remote, so there is this advantage, location advantage, irrespective of where you are staying. You can do your internships or you can apply for jobs in any city outside your own city. So that is kind of an advantage, especially with the internships. So I've seen a lot of people who study here and they are doing their internships in Munich, Berlin, or even outside Germany, because everything is remote. You can work from anywhere. And yeah, if you're not sure, if you're not sure which field you want to go for, what specialization you want to go for, you just know that you want to do your masters in computer science, electrical engineering, electronics, then it's probably better to just go with the name of the university. So if you are sure that you want to do your masters in electronics, but you're not sure which specialization, then probably universities like TUM or RWTH are the go-to options, because there is an assurity of the name value, kind of like you'll know that there would be something good about the university because of which you are hearing from everyone about it. And if you are confused, like a lot of people, like and you are not sure whether you want to do a job or you want to go for a PhD after your masters, or you just want to explore what you'd like, then I would suggest to try to find a program which kind of yeah. Do you have a question? I saw the raised hand. Okay. So if you're confused about the program that you want to go for, try to find a balance between the location and the research quality that is there at the university with I assume that you have a specific interest, but you just don't know whether you want to go for a job or PhD after your master. So if you have that a specific interest, then just find places where you can do some good research, good quality research, because of the prevalent good research groups, and the location is also not that bad. Like, just in case if you want to go for a job after master, the location does not become a hindrance for you. Yeah, and so like if you want to search for different masters program in Germany, there is this site which is quite structured, and so yeah, you just need to provide some specific fields, like which field you want to study in the course of language. So a lot of programs here are completely taught in German also, so you can probably, yeah, I assume you would like to do it in English. So you can just select English as your preferred language, and then course types. Then you will get a complete list of all the universities in Germany which are offering a master's program in that field with that language, that are specifically taught in that language. Yeah, so it's a good compilation of all the master's program that you can find. Yeah, and yeah, as I mentioned, like so you need to look at the universities which, if you are sure you want to go for a PhD after an MS, or if you want to do some good quality research, then you can probably focus on the specific field which you are interested in, or the field of specialization that you are going for, rather than just saying like rather than just going with a common or famous name or famous university. So yeah, so if you are sure, let's say if you are from a computer science, you're from computer science background, and you want to do your masters in computer vision or machine learning, then there are sites like these where you can go and just like sort universities based on the specific field. So these universities are organized based on the kind of research that they are doing and kind of publications all the professors over there have. Yeah, so yeah, I would suggest to do it if you want to pursue specific fields, I would say. Research in specific fields. So, common pathway to scholarships and assistantships. So if you want to go to Canada, then there are these specific programs which are named MASC, or these are like research masters. So the process for them looks like you'll search for professors online, then you will mail them, and just expressing your interest into their research and why would you like to work with them and all that. So most of these programs, if the professor agrees, if he gives an affirmative, then you will get to do research with him, and so it will be a complete masters with some portion of coursework, and most of it will be the research component. And yeah, these programs mostly are fully funded. And if you're going for the coursework program, then it's difficult to get an research assistantship. So the chances of getting an assistantships or scholarship there are less compared to the research masters program, from what I've heard. And yeah, so the only option there, I guess, which is getting a teaching assistantships with the coursework masters, which are usually called as engineering programs. In Australia, there are these research master program called MPhil, which follows the similar kind of process as the Canadian MASC. So there you search for professors online, you mail them, you just get an affirmative from them, and then you just apply. If the professor agrees to supervise you, then probably in most of the cases he'll provide you some funding, which probably will cover your entire master's expenses. And if you're going for non-research masters, then I have seen people who go to University of Melbourne and similar kind of universities where they give you tuition waivers, and then there could be TA opportunities. I'm not sure. And with the USA, it's pretty difficult to yeah, to get these kind of assistantships beforehand. So usually what happens is like you get a master's admit, you go to the university that you have applied for, and then there you will approach a few professors regarding the research assistantships, and yeah, and even you can approach lecturers for teaching assistantships. So it's pretty rare with US to get a TARA beforehand, before even starting your masters. Like, yeah, you cannot. It's difficult to get the TA or RA during your admit. So usually all these things will happen once you go there, go to the university. But with some universities, these opportunities are quite rare. Like USC has a pretty huge batch of students that come in every year, especially for CS, and that is why the TA and RA opportunities there are quite rare. And similar is the case with other universities as well, I guess. But there are a lot of TA and RA opportunities at a lot of different universities, so you can explore. Yeah, with Germany, there are these research assistantships or HEV positions that they call, or work student positions. So yeah, so with Saarland University, one good thing about Saarland is that, like, since there are a lot of research institutes on campus, it's not that difficult to get a research assistantships. Yeah, so yeah, research assistantships are pretty common. Yeah, I'll provide my email at the end. Yeah, I have a slide for that. So TA, but tutorships are not that common pathway here, just because you need to get some good grades in the previous iteration of the course. So let's say if you are taking power electronics this semester, and then when the next winter semester comes, then you can probably be a tutor in that course, but only if you have a good grade in the previous iteration of that course when you took it. So TA, like, people do teaching assistantships, but yeah, RAs and HEVs and work students are the most common things that people do. Work student is like working in a company for specific hours of week. Yeah. So yeah, that is all about the assistantships mostly. So scholarships, I would say scholarship you can say you mostly get in research masters programs, as you might have noticed. So yeah, and so such programs involve some kind of research background and contact with the professors as well. For non-research masters, it's not that common to get these scholarships beforehand while you're applying or while you get an admit for your masters. So with non-research, or maybe some so with non-research, as well as with countries like Germany, where there is no such demarcation between research and non-research, they mostly have the thesis component. So, but yeah, so it's kind of country specific as well. So Germany mostly does not provide these scholarships in advance during your admit. So you just go there, then it's quite easy to get a RA or EV or work student if you are going to a suitable program or convenient program as per your research specialization. So yeah, if you are starting early, let's say you are in your second or third semester, then I would advise to do some good research. Like, yeah, do some good research, maybe at ZSCT or maybe with some other professors. The advantage of COVID times is that you can approach anyone anytime, and since everything is online, they'll probably agree to supervise you. Like, it doesn't have to be a professor at ZSCT, could be someone at some other IIT, some other research institutes or ISC, something like that. So I would say, do some good research. Don't restrict it. Don't restrict yourself to just ZSCT or some other research institute where you know people. It's quite easy these days to connect with anyone. And do some good research internships as well, or any kind of internships. I would say research internships specifically help if you are going for a program like MASc at Canada or MPhil in Australia, because yeah, if you are going to mail professors, then you should have something to back up your argument why you are a good fit for their master's program. And a reason for, or a good argument would be to show some good research. And good research can come from good internships. And because, like, a lot of think a lot of you already know about MITEX, SNCOS, and Corona exchange programs and internships at NUS, NTU, USC program. These are some of the common research internship programs where you can apply. And yeah, so one good thing about these, so why I mentioned these specific programs, because there is a good, there is an assurance of the that you, whenever, if you get this internships, wherever you go, you'll probably get a good research group, and yeah, the kind of research that you'll do will probably matter, and it will be some good quality research, and you can go for publications as well. I would say it's not a very hard requirement, but if you want to publish, but then I would suggest do some good quality publications, because submitting your papers to any random conference, it doesn't really add much value to your CV or to your profile. So it's, yeah, if you're going for a research publication, then make sure that there is some good amount of work that has been done for the publication, and just make sure that you can submit the paper to a good conference which at least people in your field know about. Because yeah, submitting your research work to any random conference could be a disadvantage, I would say, in some cases, because yeah, everyone knows like there are a few conferences which are not that difficult to get into, and any kind of work will get accepted over there. So yeah, focus on quality publication instead of, I would say, quantity of publications. One good publication at an A-star conference is better than doing 3-4 publications at any random conference which people don't really know about. Yeah, so that was all the information that I wanted to give. These are my contact if you want to get in touch. Yeah, and I would say feel free to get in touch anytime. Okay. Yeah, I'm done with that. Thank you.
If you have any questions, you can just put up in the chat box.
I saw some questions.
For the audience. Any questions from you?
If you have something like 71%, I would say just go for it. Yeah, because this is some margin that you can cover with your SOP or with your research statement or your statement of interest. So if you can do some good projects or do some good research, and it probably some good internship, then that is probably enough for backing up the case that you are lacking that slight inch in the percentage that they require. I would say go for it.
Any other questions?
Job scenario for electronics engineers in Germany. Yeah, I think it's fine. Like last presentation was from yes, Toha gave his presentation as well. He's doing his electronics he's doing his electronics. He's doing his master's in electronics engineering, like something related to electronics engineering. And there are ample amount of jobs in Germany. But one thing that you need to remember is that if you're going for a non-CS program in Germany, then it's probably good to have some kind of understanding of the German language. Yes, for CS related jobs and for a lot of electronics related jobs, I would say you can still get away with not knowing German, but for something like electrical engineering or like core electrical engineering or mechanical engineering or civil engineering, it's definitely beneficial to have some prior understanding of German language before starting your masters, so that you can, if you want, so that if required, you can enhance that expertise over the language during your masters, and finally present a good case in the job industry. Yeah, but there are a good number of electronics jobs in Germany. Many are to get admitted in Germany research assistance. Yes, yeah. So I would. So yeah. So yeah. So this is the case of Zalin University. So you see the number of research institutes over there. So the professors that you are talking about will be at individual departments, like Department of Computer Science, or let's say Department of Electrical Engineering or something like that. You can approach professors over there, or you can also approach researchers working at different research institutes here, like MPI or DFTI, MMCI, Fraunhofer. They have a lot of research assistantships. This is the case with Zalin University, and I think it's the case with other good universities in Germany too. There is an ample amount of research assistantships, especially if you're doing something related to CS or electronics. Yeah, so you won't have a problem with getting an RA. Are there any German language requirements for getting admission? So there are some if you are the website that I mentioned. So most of the courses that if you want to go for, if you don't have the German language proficiency, then you can go for completely English taught programs. There are a lot of such programs. Yeah, and I think most of the people that you might have heard in this series are doing their masters in completely English taught programs. So there is no German language requirements for getting admission. There are some there are some master's programs which are completely taught in German, but you don't need to go for them. You can go for the English taught ones, and there is an abundance of such programs. You won't have any problem in finding a suitable program, suitable English taught program. Yeah, most of these are like English taught, which you can go for. Yeah, for civil engineering, I would say the first thing is like you need to have a good understanding of the German language, because the problem is like, so with CS everything is in terms of most of these are like development jobs or like something related to ML, where you have to write a lot of code. You would interact with you would have maybe cross-country collaborations where people have to speak English. So with CS and in some cases electronic related jobs as well, you don't have any problem with the language. But problem with core fields like mechanical or civil is that you have to work on sites as well. So here you would need to interact with some local people which might not know English. Hello. Yeah, so for core branches, civil and mechanical, I would say you need to have a good understanding of German language. Without that, it will be very difficult. Yeah, like you can certainly get a job if you make effort, but yeah, getting a German language, getting to know German language will give you an advantage, especially in case of civil engineering. Yeah, so that's the case. Placement for civil, I guess, are not as abundant as CS or some other specialization related to where you have to do a lot of coding, programming, development, software development. Yeah, so for civil, the case is slightly less stronger than other branches, CS related. Yeah, just because of the language. I hope that answers that question. If I want to switch from mechanical to computer, what should I start doing? I'm a sophomore. Yeah. So one thing, as I mentioned, if you know German language, I learned it about 4 years ago. Yeah, you can. Learning German is not that difficult if you're really dedicated, I would say. So you can. There are a lot of places in India also where you can learn it. So yeah, go for it. There are some specific levels. If you have learned it earlier, then it won't be that difficult now. Like upgrading to better proficiency or better level of German proficiency. If you want to make a switch from mechanical to computer, then so it's slightly difficult in Germany. Like if you have done your bachelor's in mechanical and if you directly want to apply for programs, CS programs in Germany, then it's slightly difficult because like they would ask you to show some bachelor's courses related to maybe data structures, algorithm, object oriented programming or things like that. which I assume you don't have access to being in mechanical engineering bachelor's at ZSCT. So that is a bit difficult. One option is like you can search for in some interdisciplinary programs. So programs which offer some CS related a lot of or some or plenty of CS related courses. So you can go for such interdisciplinary programs instead of just going for CS, entire or core CS programs. Yeah, but yeah, if you want to expand your options, I would say look at US as well, because there they have more, they are more flexible in terms of academic requirements. And in Germany, usually the case is if they don't see some specific courses on your bachelor's transcript, then they probably don't. They probably won't process your applications for the master's application for the master's. So either look for interdisciplinary programs, and there are some universities where if you score well during your master's, then you can switch to a core CS, or yeah, just look at some other options like US or maybe Canada, where it's more flexible to make a switch. And yeah, if you want to make a switch, then probably find a specific field within CSC you are interested about. Maybe it could be software development, it could be AI, machine learning. Start doing some courses on it, or some courses, doing some projects with some professors at your own institute, or some research internships or industry internships outside, outside of your institute. That'll help in terms of getting to understand your field, which is not related to mechanical. Instead, it's related to CS. Joining NGOs, I don't think it adds. So it's so just to complete a profile, I would say it's a bit helpful. Yeah, it won't add a lot of value. It would just give a different direction, or a different dimension to your SOP. I would say. Yeah, it's like, so yeah, these sort of public works, it's nice to mention them on your SOP, but I don't think they'll will give you a very good edge over the applicants, I think. But yeah, it doesn't hurt to do such kind of work. You can definitely go for it. Doing some courses from platform like edX will help. Yes, yeah. So specifically during this time, like yeah, when I started my masters, like the internet and all those kind of things were not that good in the university or back at home. So yeah, so the access to such courses was not that, yeah, it was not that common, but it became pretty common during the last half of my bachelor's. So like me and some of my friends really benefited from doing all these online courses, especially when you don't have access to the courses that you want at your own university. Platforms like edX and Coursera really helps. Yeah, and yeah, just do whatever you like on Coursera. Like there are a lot of options. It will certainly help. Yes, yeah. If you do some courses, if you're doing some courses related to Java, C++, yeah, it will help. Yeah, and if you're from electrical engineering background, yeah, yes, yeah, so that will only help if you have good understanding of even one language, especially Java or C++. Then it will really help, especially if you want to go into some kind of software development kind of things. It will really help. Yeah, and if you are from electrical engineering, I assume you are thinking about making a switch. So in that case, yeah, you can either go for some interdisciplinary programs where they have these courses, where they provide these courses related to software side of things. Yeah, in Germany, or even in Germany, it will be slightly difficult, but it's definitely doable. And yeah, it's not that big of a deal with other countries, I guess. Yeah, so keep doing the courses, and options open.
Yes, Saqib, you can take on from here.
Thank you, Abbas Bhai. Good evening, everyone. This is Saqib Masood, coordinator of Industry Interaction and IEEE member. First and foremost, I would like to thank our guest speaker, Arpit Jadon Bhai, for enlightening us with his knowledge and sharing us with the PPTs and taking up the questions from the audience. And next, I would like to thank our patient audience for staying with us till the end. Lastly, a big shout out to IEEE AMU and its members and coordinators for making these episodes possible and spreading the knowledge and experience that our seniors have accumulated over the years. Thank you everyone for joining. Thank you, Arpit Bhai, and have a nice day, everyone.
Yeah, same to you. Have a nice day. Bye.
Abbas bhai?